welcome to Sleepy Story Facts, and to this very special sleep story, one that has been created with a single, gentle purpose: to help you drift away from the noise of the day and into the softest, most restful sleep you have had in a long time. Tonight, you are not going to stay here on Earth. Instead, you are going to travel somewhere far more vast, far more quiet, and far more wonderfully strange. You are going to float slowly, weightlessly, effortlessly, out into the deep, velvet silence of outer space, where time moves differently, where light bends around invisible giants, and where the universe hums a lullaby so low and so ancient that no human ear has ever truly heard it, except in the quiet of a mind that is finally still. Before we go anywhere, though, there is nothing you need to do right now except settle in. If you are lying down, let your body feel the full weight of the surface beneath you, the mattress, the pillow, the blanket, all of it holding you gently and completely. You do not need to hold yourself up. You do not need to be ready for anything. Let your shoulders soften downward. Let your jaw unclench. Let your hands fall open, palms facing upward or downward, whichever feels most natural. Notice the breath moving in and out of your body without trying to change it. Just feel the slow rise of your chest or your belly, and the even slower fall, in and out, like a tide on a quiet shore. If thoughts from the day drift into your mind, tasks you forgot, conversations that are still turning over, that is completely fine. Simply notice them, the way you might notice a cloud passing across a dark sky, and let them keep moving. You are not here to solve anything tonight. You are here to rest. This is your calming narration, your gentle bedtime companion. And for the next few hours, all you need to do is listen and allow yourself to fall deeper and deeper into a beautiful, restful sleep. This is a bedtime story unlike any other, because embedded within its slow, drifting sentences are 100 real scientific facts about space, about the mysteries that live in the dark between stars, about the strange and peaceful truths that astronomers and physicists have uncovered by looking up into the night sky for centuries. These are not frightening facts. They are not loud or urgent or overwhelming. They are quiet facts, the kind that make you feel very small in the most comforting way possible. The way you feel small when you lie on grass on a summer night and realize the stars above you have been shining for billions of years and will go on shining long after every worry you have ever carried has dissolved into nothing. Tonight's relaxing story is centered on one of the universe's most extraordinary and misunderstood phenomena: the black hole. Not the terrifying, devouring monster of science fiction, but the real thing, which is something far more serene and far more astonishing. A dormant black hole, sitting in the stillness of deep space, not actively consuming anything, simply existing, warping the fabric of space and time around it like a sleeping giant beneath a silken blanket of stars. We are going to drift toward it, very slowly, across light years of open space. And as we travel, you will learn the most soothing, most wondrous truths about the cosmos, truths that will fill your mind with soft light and gentle curiosity, until that curiosity itself becomes a cradle, and the cradle becomes sleep. So close your eyes now if they are not already closed. Take one more slow breath in, hold it softly for just a moment, and breathe out, long and easy. Our journey begins. We are leaving the atmosphere. The blue curve of the earth is fading below us. The air is thinning. The sounds of the world, every car, every voice, every notification, are falling away into silence. And ahead of us, in every direction, is the most extraordinary darkness you have ever seen. Not an empty darkness, but a living one, filled with stars beyond counting, with galaxies like scattered seeds of light, with nebulae glowing in slow, breathtaking colors of rose and gold, and the deepest, most peaceful blue. You are weightless, you are warm, you are completely safe. And somewhere, many millions of light years ahead, our destination waits patient, enormous, and perfectly still. This is your nighttime story. This is your deep sleep journey. Let it carry you now. You are drifting now, gently and without effort, through the outermost edges of everything you have ever known. Behind you, the pale blue dot of Earth has already faded into the soft black distance, indistinguishable now from any other quiet point of light. And ahead of you, in every direction, the universe opens up like an endless, breathing ocean, still and dark and impossibly, beautifully vast. There is no sound here, not because something has been taken away, but because this is the natural state of space, a silence so complete and so ancient that it feels less like an absence and more like a presence, something soft and enormous that has always been here, waiting patiently for you to arrive and settle into it. The first thing you notice, as your eyes adjust to the deep dark around you, is that the darkness is not truly dark at all. It is layered. It is alive with distance. Scattered across every horizon are stars. Not the handful you can count on a clear night from a city window, but billions upon billions of them, each one a sun, each one burning with its own quiet ferocity across distances so great that the light reaching you right now left its source before humans had ever drawn a single mark on a cave wall. That light has been traveling toward this moment, toward you, for longer than civilization itself has existed. And here it arrives, soft and ancient, resting on you like the gentlest imaginable blanket. The first of our 100 space facts settles into the air around you now, as quietly as that starlight. The universe is approximately 13.8 billion years old, not 13.8 billion in any way that your mind can truly picture, because no human mind can, but 13.8 billion years of expansion, of cooling, of stars being born and dying, and being born again from their own scattered remnants. A cycle so slow and so enormous that even the most dramatic events within it, the explosions of supernovae, the collision of galaxies, the slow spiral of worlds into the mouths of black holes, all of it, when stretched across the full timeline of the cosmos, is as gentle and as gradual as the turning of seasons on a quiet country road. Let that number dissolve into something softer now. Do not try to hold it. Simply let it become a feeling of deep, unhurried time, of a universe that is in absolutely no rush whatsoever. And in that vastness, neither are you. The second fact drifts toward you like a slow current of warm air. between every star you can see, between every cluster of light, no matter how tightly they seem to be packed in the sky, there is an almost incomprehensible amount of open, empty space. If you were to take our entire solar system, the sun, all 8 planets, all their moons, all the comets and asteroids drifting in the far outer dark, and place it beside the nearest star to our own, the distance between them would be so enormous that a passenger jet flying without stopping would take approximately 4 million years to cross it. 4 million years of open, silent, peaceful nothing. Just particles of dust so thin and so few that the space between stars is considered by scientists to be among the best vacuums in the known universe. And yet it does not feel empty tonight, because you are in it, floating through it, and it holds you the way deep water holds a person who has finally stopped trying to swim and simply allowed themselves to float. Your breathing is slower now. You can feel it, the way each inhale comes a little more easily. Each exhale lasts a little longer, as though your body is learning the rhythm of this place, matching itself to something older and calmer than anything on Earth. The third fact arrives without announcement. Every atom in your body, the carbon that forms the architecture of your cells, the oxygen moving through your blood right now, the iron that gives that blood its color, was forged inside a star that no longer exists. Stars are not just sources of light and warmth from a distance. They are the original factories of matter itself, the places where the universe took simple hydrogen and helium, and through unimaginable heat and pressure, transformed them into every element that has ever made up a living thing. You are, in the most literal and scientific sense, made of star stuff. And as you lie here in the gentle dark of this nighttime story, drifting further into the silence between worlds, that fact becomes not a grand declaration, but a quiet comfort. The sense that you have always belonged to something immeasurably large, that you were assembled from the oldest materials in existence, and that the universe, in some patient and indirect way, made you on purpose, ahead still millions of light years away, but already faintly detectable as a kind of stillness in the fabric of space around it. Our black hole waits. You cannot see it yet, you can only feel it, the way you feel the approach of sleep. Not as something that crashes over you, but as something that draws you, softly and inevitably, inward. You are still drifting, still weightless, still wrapped in the ancient silence of interstellar space. And there is nowhere you need to be, nothing you need to do, no direction you need to hurry toward. The journey is the destination tonight. And every slow, unhurried moment of it is designed for one thing only: to carry you gently, like a leaf on a still river, deeper into the most restful sleep your body has known in a very long time. Let your muscles soften a little more with each sentence you hear. Let your thoughts grow quieter, the way the sky grows quieter after the last light of evening has finally faded, and the stars have taken over completely, patient and permanent, and absolutely unhurried. We have been drifting through the outer arms of our galaxy. And now, as we move further inward across the slow curve of the Milky Way, the fourth of our 100 relaxing space facts rises around you like a soft tide. Our galaxy, The Milky Way contains somewhere between 100 billion and 400 billion stars, not 100 million, which would already be beyond imagination, but 100 billion at the very least. Each star a sun, many of them larger and older and brighter than our own, and each one burning in its own private silence, separated from its neighbors by those same vast, peaceful distances we floated through in the last part of our journey. The Milky Way itself is a spiral galaxy, meaning that from far above it would look something like a slow, flat whirlpool of light, with long curving arms of stars and gas, and dust winding outward from a bright, dense center. It takes our solar system approximately 225 million years to complete a single orbit around the galactic center. A journey so slow and so enormous that in the entire history of human civilization, we have not moved even the smallest measurable fraction of the way around. The galaxy turns like a sleeping creature breathing, and we turn with it, unhurried and unhurriable, carried along in the gentlest possible way. The fifth fact comes now, and it is one that has a way of making the mind go very soft and very still. On a clear night, away from city lights, the human eye can see approximately 25 stars, 2,500 points of light, which already feels like a great many when you are lying on your back in a dark field, looking up. But the observable universe, just the portion of the universe that light has had enough time to reach us from since the beginning of everything, is estimated to contain somewhere in the region of 2 trillion galaxies, 2 trillion, each one a collection of billions of stars, each star potentially surrounded by worlds of its own, and the entire structure of it all expanding outward in every direction simultaneously, growing larger and emptier and more magnificent with every passing second, including this one, including the one that just passed while you were listening, including every slow breath you have taken since we began. Let that vastness do what it does best. Let it make everything feel very small and very peaceful, the way looking up at a night sky always does. That particular quieting of the self that happens when the self is placed beside something truly immeasurable. The sixth fact settles in now softly. Space is not a perfect vacuum. Even in the deepest, emptiest regions between galaxies, in the vast dark voids that stretch for hundreds of millions of light years without a single star, there are still, on average, a few atoms per cubic meter, mostly hydrogen, solitary and patient, drifting in the dark with no particular destination, no hurry, no attachment to anything around them. These lone atoms have been traveling through the void for billions of years, and they will likely travel for billions more. There's something deeply calming about that image. The idea that even in the most absolute emptiness the universe can offer, there is still something, still a presence, still a quiet form of matter, doing nothing more than existing slowly, without agenda. You are not so different from that, right now, in this moment, simply existing, simply resting, present, and unhurried in the dark. The seventh fact moves through you like a long, slow exhalation, light which feels instantaneous when you flip a switch in a dark room, is in cosmic terms extraordinarily, almost tenderly slow. The light from our sun takes 8 minutes and 20 seconds to reach the Earth. The light from the next nearest star, Proxima Centauri, takes 4 years and 3 months. The light from the center of our own galaxy takes 26,000 years, and the light from the most distant galaxies visible to our best telescopes has been traveling for over 13 billion years just to reach the lens of an instrument built by creatures who have only existed for the last few 100,000 years of that journey. Every time you have ever looked at the night sky, you have been looking into the past. A deep, layered, beautiful past made entirely of ancient light arriving at exactly the right moment, which is always now, which is always this breath, this quiet, this softening. Somewhere ahead, our black hole waits in its stillness. We are drawing closer, not quickly, but the way sleep draws closer, gradually, irresistibly, peacefully. You are still here, still floating, still perfectly held by the silence of this vast and ancient place. And that is exactly where you need to be. There is a particular kind of peace that comes from moving through the universe at this pace, not rushing toward anything, not leaving anything behind, simply existing in the slow, enormous present tense of deep space, where the very concept of hurry has no meaning, where the nearest clock is a star burning through its fuel over billions of years, where the most urgent thing happening in any direction is a cloud of gas taking a few million years to collapse gently into a new sun. Let your body feel that same unhurried quality now. Let your arms and your legs feel heavy in the most comfortable way, the way limbs feel at the very edge of sleep, dense and warm, and pleasantly beyond your need to move them. Let your face relax completely, your forehead, the space behind your eyes, the soft muscles of your cheeks, until your whole body feels like something that has been set down carefully and will not need to be picked up again for a long, long time. The 8th of our 100 relaxing space facts finds you now, arriving the way all the best things arrive in deep space, without announcement, without fanfare, simply appearing in the gentle dark. Einstein's general theory of relativity, published in 1915, revealed something so strange and so quietly beautiful that scientists are still uncovering its full implications more than a century later. Gravity, the force that holds you to the Earth and holds the Earth in its path around the sun, is not actually a force in the traditional sense at all. It is a curvature, mass, any mass, from a planet to a star to a black hole to your own body lying still right now, bends the fabric of space and time around it, and other objects moving through that bent space simply follow the curve. The way a marble rolling across a stretched rubber sheet will curve toward a heavy ball placed at its center. The universe is not flat. It is shaped, and the shaping of it is done by everything that exists within it, including you. The 9th fact drifts in, unhurried and luminous. Because mass bends space, it also bends light. When light from a distant star passes close to a massive object on its way to your eyes, it curves. It follows the shape that gravity has pressed into space, and it arrives at a slightly different angle than it would have if the massive object had not been there. This effect, called gravitational lensing, means that sometimes we can see galaxies that are directly behind other galaxies. Objects that should be completely hidden instead appear as rings or arcs of light, stretched and curved around the mass in front of them like a slow, glowing halo. The universe, it turns out, contains its own natural telescopes, built from nothing more than gravity and light, and the gentle curvature of space itself. The 10th fact comes now, and this one has a quality that is particularly good for the drifting, softening mind. Time is not fixed. This is not a metaphor or a feeling. It is a measured, confirmed, scientific reality. Time passes at different rates, depending on how close you are to a massive object and how fast you are moving. A clock placed at sea level on Earth ticks very slightly slower than an identical clock placed on a mountaintop, because the clock at sea level is marginally deeper in Earth's gravitational field. The difference is extraordinarily small in everyday terms, but it is real, and the GPS satellites orbiting our planet must account for it constantly, or their navigation calculations would drift into error within hours. Near a black hole, this effect becomes not subtle, but overwhelming. Not a matter of nanoseconds, but of years and centuries and eons. Time near a black hole slows and slows and slows, stretching like warm honey poured in a cold room, until at the very boundary of the black hole's point of no return, time as we understand it stops having any conventional meaning at all. And now, as the 11th fact arrives, you may feel it already. That particular quality of time in this story, the way each sentence seems to take a little longer than the last, the way the space between your thoughts is widening gently, the way your awareness is softening at the edges like a watercolor painting left in the rain. Near great mass, time dilates. And here, in this deep sleep bedtime story, something similar is happening to you. The urgent, ticking pace of your waking life is stretching outward, slowing, becoming something more like the cosmic measure of time, where a moment can contain multitudes, and a breath can last as long as it needs to. Our destination, the dormant black hole at the heart of our journey, is still ahead, still patient. Its gravity reaching across millions of light years, not to pull you apart, but simply to draw you closer. The way the softest, most irresistible sleep draws you now. Not with force, not with urgency, but with a gentle, inevitable, perfectly peaceful gravity, all of its own. You are still here, still drifting, still perfectly safe in the enormous, unhurried silence of deep space. And if you have made it this far into your journey, there's a very good chance that your body is already doing exactly what it came here to do, softening, settling, releasing the last held tensions of the day, like a hand slowly uncurling from something it has been gripping for too long. You do not need to hold on to anything right now. Not a thought, not a worry, not even the words of this story as they arrive. You can simply let them wash through you, warm and slow, like water running over smooth stone at the bottom of a quiet river, shaping nothing, demanding nothing, simply passing through in the most gentle and continuous way. Let your breathing settle even further now. Let each inhale be a little softer, a little less deliberate, until your body is simply breathing on its own, the way it does when you are deeply, fully asleep, the way it has done every single night of your life without you ever needing to remind it. The 12th of our 100 space facts arrives now, as soft and as inevitable as the next breath. Black holes are not holes in the way we normally think of holes. They are not gaps or tears or empty spaces. They are, in fact, the opposite of empty. They are regions of space where matter has been compressed to such an extraordinary degree that the gravitational field it generates becomes so strong that nothing, not matter, not energy, not even light traveling at 300,000 kilometers per second, can move fast enough to escape it. A black hole is not an absence. It is a presence of the most extreme and concentrated kind. Mass so dense and so complete that it has bent space entirely around itself, creating a boundary called the event horizon, beyond which the rules of the universe, as we experience them, no longer apply in any familiar way. The 13th fact settles in, quietly luminous. The event horizon of a black hole is not a physical surface. There is no wall, no edge you could touch, no line drawn in the dark. It is simply a boundary in space, a threshold, the point at which the escape velocity from the black hole's gravity exceeds the speed of light. If you were to cross it, you would not feel a sudden impact or a dramatic change. In theory, for a sufficiently large black hole, you might cross the event horizon without noticing anything unusual in your immediate surroundings at all. The strangeness would come later, in the deeply warped space beyond. But at the moment of crossing, the boundary itself is invisible, unfelt, as quiet and as unmarked as the moment a person crosses from wakefulness into sleep, which is something you may be approaching right now without even being entirely sure of the exact moment it happens. The 14th fact moves through the stillness around you like a long, slow current. The black hole at the center of our own Milky Way galaxy is called Sagittarius A star, and it is classified as a supermassive black hole containing a mass equivalent to approximately 4 million suns. 4 million suns compressed into a region of space no larger than the distance between our Earth and our Sun. And yet, in cosmic terms, Sagittarius A star is currently quiet, dormant. As black holes go, not actively consuming large amounts of material, simply sitting at the center of our galaxy like an enormous, patient, sleeping presence. Its gravity holding the entire spiral structure of the Milky Way in its slow, ancient orbit. It has been there for billions of years. It will be there for billions more. It does not rush. It does not strain. It simply is, with a completeness and a stillness that the resting mind can find in its own quiet way, deeply reassuring. The 15th fact drifts toward you now, soft as the space between stars. The first image of a black hole was captured by humanity in April 2019 when the Event Horizon Telescope, a network of radio observatories positioned around the entire surface of the Earth, working together as a single instrument the size of the planet, produced a photograph of the supermassive black hole at the center of a galaxy called Messier 87, some 55 million light years away. The image showed a ring of warm, glowing orange light, the superheated material orbiting just outside the event horizon, with a dark circular shadow at its center. The black hole's silhouette against its own brilliance. It was the first time in human history that the unseeable had been seen, that the darkest thing in the universe had cast its shadow for eyes that had been looking for it patiently and collaboratively for decades. That warm ring of light, glowing softly in the dark like an ember seen from a great distance, is the image that lives at the heart of our journey tonight. A circle of gentle fire around a core of absolute, beautiful stillness. You are drifting still, and the silence around you has deepened in the most welcoming way. The way a room deepens into quiet after the last sound has faded, and there is nothing left but the soft, steady rhythm of your own breathing, and the enormous, patient dark pressing gently against every edge of the world. You have come a long way from the noise and the weight of the day. You have traveled further than any human being has ever physically traveled, out here into the deep middle regions of the galaxy, where the stars are a little more numerous, and the light between them carries a warmth that feels ancient and unhurried and entirely without demand. If there are still thoughts moving through your mind, let them be slow ones. Let them be the kind of thoughts that have no sharp corners, no urgency attached to them, the kind that drift like dust, motes in a beam of afternoon light, visible for a moment, and then gone without needing to be caught or examined or resolved. You are doing beautifully. You are exactly where you need to be. The 16th of our 100 space facts arrives now, moving through the dark toward you like light from a star that has been traveling for a very long time, specifically to find this moment. The universe, for all its billions of galaxies and trillions of stars, is composed primarily of things we cannot directly see or detect. Ordinary matter, the kind that makes up stars, planets, gas clouds, dust, and every living thing that has ever existed, accounts for only approximately 5% of the total content of the universe. The remaining 95% is divided between two extraordinary and still deeply mysterious quantities that scientists call dark matter and dark energy. Dark matter, which makes up roughly 27%, does not emit light, does not reflect light, and does not interact with ordinary matter in any way that our instruments can currently measure directly. We know it exists because of its gravitational effects. The way galaxies rotate slightly faster at their edges than they should based on the visible matter alone. The way galaxy clusters bend light from objects behind them more strongly than their visible mass could account for. Dark matter is the invisible scaffolding of the universe, the quiet architecture beneath everything, holding the structure of the cosmos together without ever announcing its presence. The 17th fact follows softly. Dark energy is stranger still, making up approximately 68% of the universe. It is the name given to the unknown force or property that is causing the universe's expansion to accelerate. The universe has been expanding since the moment of the Big Bang, which we already know. But rather than slowing down over time, as gravity gradually pulls everything back toward everything else, the expansion is speeding up. Something is pushing outward, something that fills all of space uniformly and grows more influential as the universe grows larger. Something that has no known source and no clear mechanism, exists, as far as we can tell, simply as a fundamental property of space itself. Space, it seems, is not passive. It has energy. It has a kind of restless, expansive quality that means the universe will never stop growing, never contract back, never return to its beginning. It will simply continue outward, forever, in every direction, into a future so remote that no current framework of understanding can follow it there. Let that immensity settle around you now, not as something overwhelming, but as something liberating, the way it is liberating to realize that the universe is incomprehensibly large, and that within that incomprehensible largeness, your only task tonight is to breathe and rest and sleep. The 18th fact drifts in, gentle as the light of the furthest stars. Between the great galaxy clusters of the universe, the enormous structures of hundreds or thousands of galaxies bound together by gravity, there are regions of space called cosmic voids, areas so empty and so vast that they dwarf even the distances we have already described. Some cosmic voids stretch for hundreds of millions of light years in every direction, containing almost no galaxies at all, just the faintest wisps of gas, a few stray atoms per cubic meter, and an emptiness so profound and so complete that it approaches the Platonic ideal of nothing. And yet, even these voids are not nothing. They are part of the structure, part of the great cosmic web of filaments and sheets and clusters and empty spaces that forms the large-scale architecture of the universe. The way the spaces between words are part of the sentence, the way the silence between musical notes is part of the music, the way the pause between your breaths is as much a part of your rest as the breathing itself. Ahead of us, closer now than it has ever been in this journey, our dormant black hole waits in its ancient stillness, wrapped in its warm halo of curved light, patient as only something truly eternal can be patient, drawing us onward through the soft dark with a gravity that is barely perceptible, but perfectly, irresistibly steady. You are still here, still floating, still carried by the slow and ancient current of this deep sleep journey. And if your eyes have been closed for a while now, if the words are arriving more like sensations than sentences, more like warmth than language, then you are exactly where this story has been trying to bring you all along. That soft, borderless place where the waking world has grown quiet and the dreaming world has not yet declared itself, where you exist simply and completely in the most restful kind of present tense there is. Let yourself stay here. Let the words continue to move through you without asking you to hold them, the way the space around you holds starlight without gripping it, without needing to keep it, simply allowing it to pass through and continue on its ancient way. Your breathing is slow now, and deep, and easy, and every exhale carries a little more of the day's remaining weight out into the dark, where it dissolves immediately and completely, and is never seen again. The 19th of our 100 space facts finds you now, as quietly as the light from a star you will never see with your naked eye. When a massive star, one significantly larger than our own sun, reaches the end of its long life, it does not simply fade and go dark the way a candle burns down to nothing. It explodes. In an event called a supernova, the star's outer layers are blasted outward in an expanding shell of gas, and light so luminous that for a brief window of cosmic time, a single star can outshine an entire galaxy of hundreds of billions of other stars. The energy released in a single supernova in a matter of seconds rivals what our sun will radiate across its entire 10 billion year lifetime. And yet, for all that extraordinary release of energy, a supernova is not an ending so much as a redistribution. A slow, generous scattering of everything the star spent its life creating, all that carbon and oxygen and iron and gold, returned to the open space from which it came, ready to be gathered again by gravity, ready to become new clouds and new stars and new planets, and in time, perhaps new living things lying quietly in the dark, listening to a story about the very process that made them possible. The 20th fact drifts in now, warm and slow as cooling stellar ash. What remains after a supernova depends on how massive the original star was. For stars of moderate size, the collapsed core that survives the explosion becomes an object called a neutron star, an extraordinarily dense remnant in which the matter that once made up the heart of a sun has been compressed into a sphere perhaps 20 kilometers across, smaller than many of Earth's cities, and yet containing more mass than our entire sun. A neutron star is so dense that a single teaspoon of its material would weigh approximately 10 million tons on Earth, and it spins, in many cases, with breathtaking speed. Some neutron stars rotate hundreds of times per second, emitting beams of radio waves that sweep through space like the beam of a cosmic lighthouse. These spinning neutron stars are called pulsars, and their pulses are so regular, so metronomically precise, that when they were first detected in 1967, the astronomers who found them briefly considered that the signal might be coming from an intelligent civilization. They named the first discovery LGM-1, which stood for Little Green Men, before the natural explanation was confirmed. In the quietest, most orderly corner of the violent universe, a dead star was keeping perfect time. The 21st fact arrives, and it carries with it a quality of extraordinary gentleness. Nebulae, those vast, glowing clouds of gas and dust that appear in the images from our greatest telescopes as some of the most breathtakingly beautiful structures in the known universe, are both the graveyards of old stars and the nurseries of new ones. The material scattered by a supernova eventually cools and spreads and mingles with other clouds of gas drifting through interstellar space. And over millions of years, under the patient, unhurried influence of gravity, these clouds begin to contract, to condense, to slowly gather themselves inward toward denser and denser cores, until, at the heart of the cloud, where the pressure and the heat have become great enough, a new star ignites, and the cycle begins again. A nebula, for all its stillness in any single image, is in fact a place of the most profound slow-motion transformation, a place where death and birth are not opposites, but partners, turning endlessly into each other across timescales that make the whole of human history feel like a single, quiet breath. And somewhere in the warm, glowing regions of a nebula, not so different from the ones around us, Our black hole was born long ago from exactly this same patient and magnificent process. A star that lived and burned and finally collapsed so completely that not even light could follow it back out. You are still here, still drifting, still held so completely by the deep and ancient quiet of this place that the very idea of effort has become something distant and irrelevant, like a sound heard from another room in a house you left a long time ago. The stars around you are more numerous now, their light softer and more layered, pooling together in gentle gradations of silver and gold. And the faintest rose at the edges, where a distant nebula breathes its slow, luminous breath into the dark. There is nowhere to go except forward, and forward requires nothing from you. No pushing, no navigating, no decision of any kind. The gravity of our destination is doing all the work, drawing you along its invisible thread with a patience so complete and so unhurried that you could not resist it even if you wanted to. And you do not want to, because the place it is drawing you toward is the most peaceful place in this entire story. And this entire story has been nothing but peaceful from the very first word. Let your body sink a little deeper now. Let the surface beneath you receive your full weight without reservation. Let your mind go as wide and as empty as the space around you, full of nothing but soft, ancient light and the slow turning of things too large and too old to be in any kind of hurry. The 22nd of our 100 space facts arrives now, carried on the gentlest of cosmic currents. In September of 2015, humanity detected something extraordinary for the very first time. A gravitational wave, a ripple in the very fabric of space and time itself, generated by the collision of two black holes approximately 1.3 billion light years away. These two black holes, each many times the mass of our sun, had been spiraling toward each other for billions of years, drawing closer and closer in an orbital dance of almost incomprehensible slowness, until in the final fraction of a second, they merged into one, and the energy released by that merger, an energy equivalent to the total mass of 3 suns, converted entirely into ripples of space-time, traveled outward in every direction at the speed of light, and 1.3 billion years later, it passed through the Earth, stretching and compressing the planet by a distance smaller than 1/10,000th the diameter of a single proton. And instruments sensitive enough to detect it felt it, and humanity heard, for the very first time, the sound of the universe speaking in its deepest and oldest language. The 23rd fact settles in, luminous and slow. The instrument that detected that first gravitational wave is called LIGO, the Laser Interferometer Gravitational Wave Observatory, and it works by splitting a beam of laser light and sending it down 2 tunnels, each 4 kilometers long, arranged in an L shape, and measuring with extraordinary precision whether the 2 beams, when reflected back and recombined, arrive at exactly the same moment. When a gravitational wave passes through, it stretches space in one direction while compressing it in another. And this changes the length of one tunnel relative to the other by that almost impossibly small amount. And the light, arriving a fraction out of sync, reveals the passage of the wave. It is, in its way, one of the most elegant things humanity has ever built. A device that listens to the universe not with sound, but with light, detecting the tremors of events that happened before our solar system existed, events so distant and so ancient that the light from them has not yet arrived. But the ripple in the fabric of space has, traveling at exactly the same speed through a medium that no telescope can see. The 24th fact moves through you now like the wave itself, gentle and pervasive, and leaving everything it touches subtly, imperceptibly changed. Gravitational waves are not only produced by merging black holes, they are generated by any accelerating mass, by neutron stars orbiting each other in tightening spirals, by the asymmetric collapse of a star in a supernova, perhaps even by the earliest moments of the Big Bang itself, when the universe was so young and so dense that its very inflation may have left permanent ripples in the background fabric of spacetime. Ripples that would be, if we could detect them, a kind of recording, the oldest sound in the universe, the first cry of existence, preserved not in matter, but in the geometry of space itself, waiting patiently across billions of years for an ear sensitive enough to hear it. And here in the soft dark of this nighttime story, as our black hole grows closer and the curvature of space around us deepens, by the smallest and most peaceful of degrees, that image of the universe carrying within its very structure the memory of its own beginning becomes not a scientific abstraction, but a lullaby, the oldest lullaby, hummed at a frequency below all hearing, felt rather than listened to, present in every direction at once, and perfectly, eternally still. You are drifting still, and the space around you has taken on a new quality now, something warmer and more textured than the open interstellar dark you traveled through in the early hours of this journey. The stars here are older, many of them, their light carrying the particular gold and amber of great age, the color of things that have been burning long enough to have witnessed the formation of planets, and the rise and fall of possibilities we cannot even begin to name. The curvature of space in this region is not dramatic or alarming. It is gentle, like the way the surface of still water curves almost imperceptibly around an object resting in it. A softness in the geometry of everything, a barely detectable leaning of light and direction toward the great and patient presence that waits ahead. You do not need to think about any of this. You do not need to understand it, or hold it, or examine it. Simply let it be the environment around you, the way the darkness of your room is the environment around you right now, present, encompassing, and entirely safe. Let your breath continue its slow and independent rhythm. Let your body continue its quiet work of resting and restoring itself. All the 10,000 processes of a sleeping body moving forward without any instruction or oversight from you, as automatic and as trustworthy as the orbits of planets around their stars. The 25th of our 100 relaxing space facts arrives now, moving through the warm dark like light through deep water. Every planet in our solar system orbits the sun not in a perfect circle, but in an ellipse, a slightly stretched, oval-shaped path. a fact first described mathematically by the astronomer Johannes Kepler in the early 17th century, after years of patient, meticulous study of observational data collected by his predecessor, Tycho Brahe. This means that every planet, including our own Earth, is sometimes fractionally closer to the Sun, and sometimes fractionally further away, moving a little faster when closer and a little slower when further, in a continuous, graceful adjustment that keeps the entire system balanced without any external maintenance or intervention, a self-sustaining dance of mass and motion and gravity that has been running without interruption for approximately 4.5 billion years and will continue running for billions more. The 26th fact drifts in, soft and slow, and full of a particular kind of peace. Our moon is moving away from the Earth, not quickly, at a rate of approximately 3.8 centimeters per year, roughly the rate at which your fingernails grow, but steadily and consistently, as it has been doing since it formed from the debris of a collision between the early Earth and a Mars-sized body, approximately 4.5 billion years ago. In the very distant past, the moon was much closer, and the tides it raised on the young Earth's oceans were enormous, and the days were much shorter, perhaps only 6 hours long over billions of years. The tidal interaction between the Earth and the moon has slowed the Earth's rotation and pushed the moon further away, and this process will continue for billions of years more. A gradual, peaceful recession, like two dancers slowly releasing each other after a very long and intimate waltz, each carrying the memory of the other's gravity in their motion forever. The 27th fact arrives, and it carries with it the particular quality of deep time that is the most soothing thing the universe has to offer. Saturn's rings, those impossibly beautiful, impossibly thin bands of ice and rock that make it the most visually astonishing object in our solar system when seen through even a modest telescope, are not a permanent feature of the planet. They are relatively young by cosmic standards, perhaps only 100 to 400 million years old, which means that in the long history of the solar system, the rings have existed for only the most recent fraction of its life, and they will not last forever. The particles that make up the rings are slowly being pulled inward by Saturn's gravity, raining down into the planet's upper atmosphere in a process scientists call ring rain. And within perhaps 100 million years, those magnificent rings will be gone, absorbed back into the planet that generated them, leaving Saturn as a different kind of beautiful, ringed only by its moons, moving through the dark in a stateliness that needs no adornment. The 28th fact moves through you now, as gentle as the last. Jupiter, the largest planet in our solar system, acts as a kind of silent guardian for the inner planets, including Earth. Its enormous gravitational influence intercepts and redirects many comets and asteroids that might otherwise travel inward toward the rocky planets, absorbing or deflecting objects that could cause catastrophic impacts. Jupiter has done this countless times across the history of the solar system, quietly and without acknowledgement, simply by existing with sufficient mass and in the right place. A reminder that protection can be enormous and silent, and entirely without intention. The way the darkness around you right now is protecting you from everything outside it. Simply by being present and complete, you are still here, still drifting, still held in the most complete and effortless way by the warm and ancient dark of this deep space journey. And there is something different about the quality of the silence now, something richer and more layered than the open emptiness of the outer galaxy where we began. The stars here burn with a depth and a density that feels almost like company, like the quiet presence of very old, very wise things that have no need to speak and no desire to impress, that simply exist with a fullness and a steadiness that the resting mind finds, without quite knowing why, profoundly and completely reassuring. You have been traveling for a long time now, and your body knows it in the best possible way, in the heaviness of your limbs, in the slow, easy rhythm of your breathing, in the way the boundary between your thoughts and the silence around them has become so soft and so permeable that it is difficult to say where one ends and the other begins. This is exactly right. This is exactly where you are supposed to be. Let the words continue to arrive like light from distant stars, not demanding to be caught or examined, simply present, simply warm, simply traveling toward you across whatever distance remains between this story and the deepest, most restful sleep your body is capable of. The 29th of our 100 space facts settles in now, quiet and luminous as the light of the oldest stars around us. Every star in the night sky is, in a very precise and literal sense, a message from the past, the light that left our nearest stellar neighbor, Proxima Centauri, and arrives at your eyes on a clear night, left its source 4 years and 3 months ago. The light from the stars of the Orion constellation left them somewhere between 240 and 1,300 years ago, during a span of time that covers everything from medieval cathedrals to the early age of exploration. The light from the Andromeda galaxy, the most distant object visible to the naked eye, left its source approximately 2.5 million years ago, when the ancestors of our species were walking the African savanna beneath a night sky that looked almost identical to our own, looking up at the same faint smudge of light without any framework to understand what they were seeing. Every act of looking at the night sky is simultaneously an act of looking into the past, a form of time travel available to anyone willing to stand in the dark and look upward, carrying within it an intimacy between the present moment and billions of years of cosmic history that no other experience can quite replicate. The 30th fact drifts toward you now, warm and slow, and full of a particular kind of wonder that is perfectly suited to the almost sleeping mind. Stars have colors, and those colors tell a precise and readable story about their temperature and their age. The hottest, youngest stars burn blue-white, their surfaces reaching temperatures of 30,000 degrees or more, their lives burning brief and brilliant before exhausting their fuel in a few million years. Cooler stars burn yellow, like our own sun, middle-aged and steady, fusing hydrogen into helium at a pace that will sustain them for 10 billion years in total. The coolest stars of all burn deep red dwarfs. And these are by far the most common type of star in the galaxy. Dim and small and extraordinarily long-lived, burning so slowly and so efficiently that the oldest of them will still be shining hundreds of billions of years from now, long after our sun has expanded into a red giant, consumed the inner planets, and collapsed into a quiet white dwarf, cooling slowly in the dark. The universe, in other words, is only in its early chapters, and the era of stars is nowhere near its end. The 31st fact arrives now, and it is one that carries within it a stillness so complete it mirrors perfectly the stillness you are moving toward in your own body and mind. There exists a point in the universe, many such points, in fact, where the gravitational pull of opposing masses perfectly cancels out, where an object placed there would experience no net gravitational force in any direction, and would remain suspended, motionless, in a perfect and self-sustaining equilibrium. These points are called Lagrange points, and they exist in every system where two massive bodies orbit each other, between the Earth and the Moon, between the Earth and the Sun. And humanity has placed telescopes and observatories at some of them, instruments hanging in perfect gravitational stillness, held in place by the balance of competing forces, neither falling nor fleeing, simply resting in the precise geometric center of a cosmic conversation between two immense and patient masses. Our black hole waits ahead, closer now than it has ever been, its presence a warm and steady gravity in the fabric of everything around us, drawing us forward through the soft and ancient dark with a gentleness that is indistinguishable from the pull of sleep itself, inevitable and complete and entirely, perfectly kind. You are closer now, and the space around you has changed in the most imperceptible and beautiful of ways. The way the air in a room changes when a candle has been burning in it for a long time. Not dramatically, not with any single definable shift, but with a warmth and a quality that the body recognizes before the mind does. A softening of everything, a deepening of the quiet into something that is no longer merely the absence of sound, but a presence all its own, vast and steady and older than anything you have ever rested inside before. The stars around you have multiplied again, their ancient light overlapping and layering into a luminescence that is not bright enough to disturb, but simply warm enough to feel, like the last ember of a fire seen through closed eyelids on a cold night, present and reassuring, and requiring absolutely nothing from you in return for its warmth. Your breathing has found its own perfect rhythm now, slow and deep and completely automatic. The breath of a body that has surrendered the last of its waking effort and given itself over entirely to the patient, generous work of rest. Let it continue without your guidance. Let everything continue without your guidance. The universe has been running without any assistance for 13.8 billion years, and it will continue to do so. And tonight, your only participation in it is to be still and breathe, and let this story carry you the rest of the way. The 32nd of our 100 space facts arrives now, as quietly as the light that has been traveling toward us from the galactic core for 26,000 years at the very center of the Milky Way. beyond the dense star clusters and the clouds of gas and the ancient orbital pathways that crowd the inner galaxy, sits Sagittarius A star, our galaxy's supermassive black hole. And around it, in an extraordinary ring of motion, orbit some of the youngest, brightest, most massive stars known to science. These stars, called the S-stars, trace elliptical paths around the black hole, so tight and so swift that some of them complete a full orbit in only a few years, moving at a significant fraction of the speed of light as they swing around their invisible gravitational anchor. Watching them over decades, astronomers have been able to map the invisible presence of Sagittarius A star entirely through the motion of these stars, the way you might deduce the presence of a sleeping giant in a dark room by watching how everything near it gently curves toward where it lies. The 33rd fact drifts in now, soft and slow and luminous. A black hole does not actively pull things into itself the way a vacuum cleaner pulls in dust. If our sun were somehow replaced tomorrow by a black hole of exactly the same mass, the planets of our solar system would continue orbiting in exactly the same paths they follow today. Undisturbed, unchanged, moving through the same slow ellipses they have traced for 4.5 billion years. The difference would only be the absence of light, the sudden and complete darkness, the loss of the warmth, and the radiation that the sun currently provides. But gravitationally, nothing would change. The black hole would be no more and no less gravitationally influential than the star it replaced, which means that a black hole, for all its fearsome reputation in the stories we tell about space, is in gravitational terms simply a very dense, very compact, very dark star, extraordinary in its physics, but not inherently more dangerous than the mass it contains, which is the same mass that anything else of that weight would contain. The 34th fact moves through you now like a long, slow breath held and then gently released. The boundary around a black hole, the event horizon, is in a sense the universe's most perfect one-way door, not a physical surface, but a mathematical threshold, a point of no return defined entirely by geometry and physics rather than by any material barrier. Nothing that crosses it can return, not because something grabs or holds it, but because beyond the event horizon, every possible path through space-time, every direction you could move in space, every moment that could follow the present one in time, leads inward toward the singularity at the center, the way every direction from the North Pole leads south. There is no outward, there is no back. There is only the slow, inevitable continuation of a journey that has become, in the most literal geometric sense, entirely one-directional, and in the profound, complete, irreversible surrender of that image, there is, for the deeply resting mind, something that resonates with perfect clarity, the surrender of sleep itself, that beautiful point of no return, past which the waking world cannot follow, past which thoughts dissolve and effort ceases, and the body is held by something older and deeper and more complete than anything the conscious mind can manufacture, drifting inward toward a rest so total and so peaceful that even the stars, burning in their billions all around you, seem to pause and grow a little quieter in recognition of it. You are so close now, and the space around you is nothing like the cold and empty dark of the outer galaxy where this journey began. It is warm here, warmed by the ancient light of the densest concentration of stars in the entire Milky Way, warmed by the soft glow of gas clouds that have been drifting in slow, luminous loops around the galactic center for longer than our solar system has existed, warmed by something that has no precise scientific name, but that the deeply resting mind recognizes immediately and without hesitation. The particular quality of a place that has been here forever, that was here before you arrived, and will be here long after you have drifted into the deepest and most restful sleep of your life, a permanence so complete and so undemanding that simply being near it feels like being forgiven of every urgency you have ever carried. Your body is deeply still now. Your mind, if it is still registering words at all, is receiving them the way deep water receives light, softened and scattered and transformed into something more diffuse and more beautiful than it was at the surface, arriving not as sharp edges of meaning, but as warmth, as color, as the gentlest possible sensation of being accompanied through the dark. The 35th of our 100 space facts finds you here, in this warm and ancient place, arriving so quietly you may not be sure whether you heard it or dreamed it. The accretion disk of an active black hole, the swirling ring of superheated gas and dust that forms when a black hole is actively consuming nearby material, glows across the entire electromagnetic spectrum, from radio waves at the longest and most gentle end to X-rays and gamma rays at the most energetic. But the visible light it emits, the light that would be perceptible to human eyes if they could survive anywhere near it, ranges through a spectrum of extraordinary beauty, deep reds and warm oranges at the outer edges where the material is cooler, and moving more slowly, brightening through gold and white toward the innermost stable orbit where temperatures reach millions of degrees. Our black hole is dormant tonight, its accretion disk thin and quiet, a ghost of its former brilliance, glowing only faintly in the dark, like the last light of a fire reduced to embers. And that faint, warm, amber glow is the light by which we are reading this final approach, soft enough to rest by, ancient enough to carry the whole history of the galaxy within it. The 36th fact drifts in now, luminous and slow. Time near a black hole does not simply slow in a metaphorical sense. It slows in a way that is physically measurable, gravitationally confirmed, and mathematically precise. An observer hovering at a fixed distance from the event horizon of a sufficiently massive black hole would experience time passing at a dramatically reduced rate compared to an observer far away in open space. 1 hour near the event horizon might correspond to years or decades or centuries passing in the wider universe, depending on how close to the threshold the observer was positioned. This effect, called gravitational time dilation, is not an illusion or a perceptual trick, but a genuine difference in the rate at which time itself passes, a consequence of the curvature of space-time around extreme mass. As real and as confirmed as any measurement science has ever made. And here, in the warm and gentle dark of this sleep story, that image becomes something more than physics. It becomes a kind of permission, the permission to exist outside the urgent forward march of ordinary time, to rest in a place where the next moment is in no hurry to arrive, where the space between one breath and the next can contain as much peace as you need it to contain, where sleep is not an interruption of time, but a beautiful, private dilation of it. The 37th fact arrives, and it is perhaps the most quietly astonishing of all the facts we have visited so far in this long and gentle journey. Information, according to the most careful and rigorous interpretations of quantum physics, cannot be destroyed, even if matter falls into a black hole, even if it crosses the event horizon and disappears from the observable universe entirely. The information that describes the precise quantum state of that matter, every property of every particle, every spin and charge and energy, is not lost. It is preserved, encoded in extraordinarily subtle ways in the radiation that a black hole slowly emits over astronomical timescales, a process first described theoretically by the physicist Stephen Hawking in 1974, and still the subject of deep and ongoing investigation. Nothing, not even the deepest darkness, erases what has been. Everything that has ever existed leaves its mark in the fabric of the universe, permanent and indelible and patient, waiting in the geometry of space itself to be read by something wise enough and gentle enough and unhurried enough to understand it. The way this story has been waiting for you tonight, the way sleep has been waiting, the way the black hole ahead has been waiting, warm and still and complete. You are here now, truly here, in the warmest and most ancient and most completely peaceful place this journey has carried you to. And the word here does not mean a location on a map or a coordinate in space so much as it means a quality of being, a quality of rest so deep and so complete that the boundary between you and the silence around you has grown so soft as to be nearly indistinguishable, the way the boundary between a sleeping body and the warm darkness of a bedroom at 3 a.m. becomes, from the inside, not a boundary at all, but a continuity, a seamless and unbroken extension of the same stillness in every direction. The black hole is ahead, close now in the scale of this journey, its dormant accretion disk a faint and beautiful ring of amber and rose light in the dark, and its event horizon a perfect circle of absolute stillness at the center of that ring, the darkest thing in the universe, surrounded by the most ancient light. And the combination of the two, that ring of soft fire around that core of complete and permanent dark, is perhaps the most restful image the cosmos has ever produced, a visual lullaby written in physics and time and the patient mathematics of extreme gravity. Let it rest behind your eyes now, if you can still hold an image, or simply let the words become warmth if images have dissolved, which for many of you they have, long ago, carried away on the slow tide of sleep into whatever country your dreaming mind has already begun to explore. The 38th of our 100 space facts settles in now, as softly as the glow of the accretion disk ahead, Hawking radiation, the theoretical process by which black holes are not eternal, but slowly, over incomprehensibly vast timescales, lose mass and eventually evaporate, operates on a timescale so enormous that no human framework of time can contain it comfortably. A black hole with the mass of our sun would take approximately 2 times 10 to the power of 67 years to evaporate completely through Hawking radiation. The current age of the universe is approximately 13.8 billion years, which is itself a number that defeats ordinary imagination. And yet the evaporation time of even a modest black hole dwarfs it by a factor so large that the age of the universe becomes, by comparison, something like a single heartbeat at the beginning of an endless night. This means that our black hole, drifting dormant and patient at the center of its ancient glow, will be here not just for billions of years, but for durations so vast that every star currently burning in every galaxy in the observable universe will have long since exhausted its fuel, cooled, and gone dark before our black hole has lost any meaningful fraction of its mass. It will outlast everything. It will rest here in its perfect stillness while the universe completes chapters we cannot yet imagine, patient and unhurried and complete. The way the deepest sleep outlasts every dream and every thought and every urgency until morning arrives, quietly and without announcement, to find you restored. The 39th fact moves through you now like the slowest possible tide. The singularity at the center of a black hole, the mathematical point to which all the infalling matter is theoretically compressed, is a place where the known equations of physics cease to produce meaningful answers, where the curvature of space-time becomes, in the language of mathematics, infinite. Physicists call this a breakdown of the theory, meaning not that something impossible is happening, but that our current frameworks of understanding are reaching their edges. The way a map ends not because the territory ends, but because the cartographer has reached the boundary of what has been explored, what lies at the center of a black hole, what the true nature of a singularity is when described by a more complete theory of physics that reconciles gravity with quantum mechanics, remains genuinely and beautifully unknown. One of the deepest open questions in all of science, a darkness within the darkness that no current instrument or equation can illuminate. And there is something in that, in the existence of a question so profound that the universe's best minds have stood at its edge for decades and found only deeper mystery. That is not frustrating, but restful, a reminder that the universe is under no obligation to be fully understood, that it holds its deepest secrets with the same patient, untroubled silence with which it holds everything else. That mystery is not a problem to be solved tonight, but a quality of existence to be rested inside, the way you are resting now inside the most beautiful and the most ancient mystery of all, the mystery of consciousness quietly releasing itself into sleep, of a mind choosing, in its deepest wisdom, to stop reaching for the edges of things and simply, completely, and at long last, let go. You are resting now in the most complete sense of that word, resting in a place where the universe itself seems to have grown quieter out of a kind of gentle solidarity where every star within sight has dimmed its light by the smallest and most considerate degree, where even the slow orbital mathematics of the galactic center seems to have paused its calculations and simply allowed this moment to exist without measurement or record or any demand for acknowledgement. The black hole ahead is no longer a destination because you have arrived, not at its edge, not at its threshold, but at the perfect resting place just beyond its warmth, close enough to feel the soft amber of its ancient accretion glow on every side, far enough that time here, though gently dilated, still moves in the most dreamily unhurried of ways, each moment longer and softer and more spacious than the one before it, as though the universe is handing you extra time tonight, quiet time, time with no edges and no obligations, time that exists only to be breathed through and rested inside, and eventually released, like every breath you have taken since this journey began. The 40th of our 100 space facts arrives now, barely distinguishable from the warmth around it. The observable universe, the sphere of space from which light has had enough time since the Big Bang to reach us, has a radius of approximately 46 billion light years, even though the universe itself is only 13.8 billion years old. The reason for this apparent discrepancy is the expansion of space itself. The universe has been stretching outward continuously since its beginning, carrying galaxies with it, so that objects whose light is only now reaching us after 13.8 billion years of travel are now, due to that expansion, much further away than 13.8 billion light years. The universe, in other words, is significantly larger than the light from its own beginning has yet had time to cross, which means there are regions of the cosmos that are, in the most precise and permanent sense, forever beyond our view, not because something is hiding them, but because the space between us and them is growing faster than light can cross it. A horizon not of darkness, but of expansion. A boundary not of walls, but of time, peaceful and absolute, and requiring no explanation beyond the simple, extraordinary fact that the universe is larger than its own light. The 41st fact drifts in, quiet as the space between stars, cosmic microwave background radiation. The faint, uniform glow of microwave energy that fills the entire observable universe in every direction equally is the oldest light we can detect. The afterglow of the Big Bang itself, released approximately 380,000 years after the universe began, when the cosmos had cooled enough for electrons and protons to combine into neutral hydrogen atoms for the first time, allowing light to travel freely through space rather than being constantly scattered by a dense plasma. This ancient light, now stretched by billions of years of cosmic expansion from visible light into microwaves, arrives at our instruments from every point in the sky simultaneously. A perfect, uniform, whispering presence that has been traveling since before any star existed, before any galaxy had formed, before any planet had condensed from any cloud of dust. It is the universe's oldest memory, preserved in light, arriving continuously from every direction, surrounding everything that has ever existed in a soft and permanent embrace that no telescope and no distance and no amount of time will ever entirely escape. The 42nd fact moves through you now like that same ancient light, present in every direction, warm and undifferentiated, and as old as everything. The large-scale structure of the universe, when mapped across the billions of light years of the observable cosmos, reveals a pattern so vast and so unexpected that astronomers who first began to see it in the data described it as something like a cosmic web, a three-dimensional network of filaments and sheets of galaxies surrounding enormous empty voids, the whole structure resembling, in its broad architecture, the structure of a neural network or the branching of a river delta seen from very high above, or the pattern of frost on a window on a cold night. Each branch of light and mass separated from the next by abyssal dark, and the whole vast, intricate, incomprehensible structure assembled not by any design, but by the patient, accumulative action of gravity working on the tiny quantum fluctuations of the earliest universe, turning microscopic ripples in the infant cosmos into the largest structures that exist. You are inside that structure now, resting at its warm and ancient heart, held by gravity and light, and the slow mathematics of a universe that has been building toward this particular moment of quiet for 13.8 billion years. And the only thing it asks of you, the only contribution it requires, is the one you are already perfectly, completely, and irreversibly making. The deep, slow, healing breath of a body that has finally, gratefully, let everything go. You are settled now, truly and completely settled, in the way that only the deepest and most earned rest can settle a body and a mind that have traveled far and released much, and finally found the place they were always looking for without quite knowing its name. The black hole rests ahead, as it has rested for billions of years, its dormant glow a soft and perpetual amber in the surrounding dark, its event horizon a circle of perfect stillness that has not moved or changed or been disturbed by anything in all the vast and patient centuries of its existence. And you are resting here beside it in the most comfortable gravitational neighborhood in the known universe, close enough to feel the gentle dilation of time, each moment stretched a little longer and a little softer and a little more generous than it would be anywhere else, far enough that the warmth is gentle rather than overwhelming, a presence rather than a force, the way a fireplace in a large room is a presence rather than a heat, felt everywhere and demanding nothing, simply there, simply warm, simply ancient and permanent and kind. Your breathing is so slow now that there are long pauses between each exhale and each inhale, pauses that feel not like gaps, but like the most comfortable rooms you have ever rested in, wide and warm and entirely yours, and your body is so still that it has begun to feel less like a body and more like something the darkness is simply holding in its palm, gently, without grip, without agenda. The way the universe holds everything it has ever made. The 43rd of our 100 space facts arrives now, softer than a whisper, warmer than starlight. White dwarf stars, the quiet remnants left behind when stars like our sun exhaust their nuclear fuel, and shed their outer layers, are among the most numerous stellar objects in the galaxy and among the most serene. A white dwarf is no longer fusing anything, no longer generating energy through nuclear processes, simply cooling slowly and steadily, and over timescales of billions upon billions of years, radiating away the last of its stored heat into the surrounding dark with a patience and a gentleness that is unlike anything else in the cosmos. The coolest, oldest white dwarfs in the galaxy have been cooling for so long that they have faded to dim, reddish points of light, barely visible, making their slow and dignified way toward a state that cosmologists call a black dwarf. A cold, dark, inert remnant of what was once a living, burning star. Though the universe is not yet old enough for any black dwarf to have fully formed, every white dwarf currently cooling in the dark is still in the process of a farewell so unhurried and so graceful that it will not be complete for longer than the current age of the universe. Many times over, the 44th fact drifts in, slow and luminous, and full of a particular gentleness well suited to the resting mind. Planetary nebulae, the glowing shells of gas expelled by dying stars in the final stages before they collapse into white dwarfs, are among the most visually beautiful objects in the cosmos, their shapes ranging from perfect spherical shells to elaborate butterfly forms to intricate rings and hourglasses of glowing gas in colors of turquoise and rose and deep violet. Each one a star's last exhalation, its outer layers released slowly and magnificently into the surrounding space over thousands of years. Lit from within by the ultraviolet radiation of the cooling stellar remnant at the center, they last, in cosmic terms, only briefly, a few tens of thousands of years before dispersing into the interstellar medium. But in that brief span, they are extraordinary, a dying star spending its final energy, not in collapse, but in a slow, magnificent unfurling of color and light, the most beautiful possible ending, a reminder that conclusions need not be sudden or violent or dark, that some of the greatest things the universe has ever made have ended in a long, slow, luminous release that illuminated everything around them as they went. The 45th fact settles in now, the way all things settle eventually in a universe patient enough to wait for them. The interstellar medium, the gas and dust that fills the space between stars throughout the galaxy, is not empty, not silent, not without structure or complexity, but is instead a richly varied environment of different densities and temperatures and chemical compositions, containing within it the raw materials for every star and planet and living thing that will ever form in the future of the galaxy, all of it drifting in slow clouds and sheets and filaments, moved by the pressure of starlight and the shock waves of ancient supernovae and the gentle tidal forces of the galaxy's rotation, patient and unhurried, and full of a potential so vast that no single mind has ever come close to calculating it. The future held in the quiet dark between the stars, the way sleep holds the future of a rested mind, full of possibility, full of quiet readiness, full of everything that tomorrow might become when this long and beautiful and deeply restful night has finally, gently run its course, you are still here. And the fact that you are still here, still breathing, still resting, still held in the warm and ancient glow of this most patient place in the universe, is itself a kind of miracle so quiet and so continuous that it rarely receives the recognition it deserves. The miracle of a body doing exactly what bodies evolved over billions of years to do, restoring itself in the dark, repairing the microscopic architecture of its cells, consolidating the memories and experiences of the day into the long, slow library of a life, releasing the chemistry of waking effort and replacing it with the chemistry of deep and healing rest. All of it happening without your direction, without your awareness, without any participation from the part of you that thinks and plans and worries, simply proceeding with the patient competence of a system that has been running this program every single night since the first night of your life, and has never once, in all that time, forgotten how. Let it continue. Let everything continue. You are not needed anywhere tonight except exactly here, in this warm dark, in this slow and generous dilation of time, in this place where the most massive and the most ancient thing in the galaxy rests in its own perfect stillness just ahead of you, and the universe spreads in every direction in its incomprehensible and deeply comforting vastness. The 46th of our 100 space facts arrives now, drifting through the amber dark like a warm current in a deep and still ocean. Neutron stars, those extraordinarily dense remnants of collapsed massive stars, possess magnetic fields so powerful that they beggar every comparison available to ordinary experience. 1 trillion times stronger than Earth's magnetic field, strong enough that, at a distance of 1,000 kilometers, they would distort the very shape of atoms, pulling electrons into elongated configurations that no chemistry textbook has ever needed to describe. Because nothing in ordinary experience comes anywhere near the conditions required to produce them. Some neutron stars, called magnetars, have magnetic fields even stronger still. And when a magnetar undergoes a sudden rearrangement of its magnetic field, a starquake in the language of astrophysics, it releases in a fraction of a second more energy than our sun will radiate in 100,000 years, a flash of gamma radiation so intense that magnetar flares from thousands of light years away have been detected arriving at Earth's atmosphere, brief and extraordinary, and then gone, leaving the cosmos exactly as quiet and as dark as it was before. The 47th fact settles in now, warm and slow and luminous. The chemical elements that make life possible, carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, phosphorus, sulfur, and all the rest, were not present at the beginning of the universe in the first few minutes after the Big Bang. Only hydrogen, helium, and trace amounts of lithium existed, the simplest and lightest of all elements, a universe of almost pure simplicity with no capacity. Yet, for the complexity that life requires, everything heavier was made later inside stars through the nuclear fusion processes that power stellar burning, and scattered into space through stellar winds and supernova explosions over billions of years of cosmic chemistry, building up the elemental abundance of the galaxy, slowly and continuously, generation after generation of stars living and dying, and seeding the interstellar medium with the increasingly complex materials that would eventually allow a planet like Earth to form, and allow chemistry like ours to emerge, and allow a mind like yours to exist in a body like yours on a night like this one, resting in the dark with the periodic table of the elements distributed through every cell and bone and breath, each atom of you a gift from a star that burned and gave everything it had so that you could be here, exactly now, doing exactly this. The 48th fact moves through you now as gently as the most distant starlight, the concept of cosmic time, the way astronomers and physicists think about the timeline of the universe, divides the history of everything into epochs so vast that the entire span of human civilization, from the first cities to the present moment, occupies a fraction so small within the cosmic calendar that it would not register as a single pixel on a screen displaying the full timeline of the universe to scale. The age of stars, the current epoch in which stars are burning and galaxies are active and life is possible, will last for roughly 100 trillion years, approximately 10,000 times the current age of the universe, before the last stars exhaust their fuel and the cosmos enters the long, quiet, almost incomprehensibly dark era that cosmologists call the degenerate age, when the only stellar objects remaining will be white dwarfs slowly cooling, neutron stars silently spinning, and black holes patiently existing in the dark, doing what they do best, which is simply to remain permanent and unhurried and completely at peace, the way you are remaining right now, in your own warm dark, permanent within this moment, unhurried within this breath, completely and perfectly and deeply at peace. You are still here, still resting, still held in the most complete and most ancient quiet that this universe has to offer, and the night around you, both the night of your room and the vast, warm, amber-lit night of this deep space resting place, has reached that particular quality of depth that only arrives in the hours when the world has fully committed to its darkness, when every urgency has exhausted itself and gone to sleep, and left behind only the most essential and the most peaceful things: the sound of your own breathing, the weight of your own body against the surface that holds you, and the slow, generous, endlessly patient presence of a universe that has been here for 13.8 billion years and has never once, in all that time, asked anything of you except to exist within it. You are existing within it beautifully. You are doing the most ancient and the most important thing a living creature can do, which is to rest completely, to surrender the day entirely, to give the body and the mind the long, uninterrupted dark they need to do their quiet and extraordinary work. Let every remaining thought dissolve now. Let every last edge of waking awareness soften into the warm ambient glow of the accretion disk ahead, that faint ring of ancient fire that has been burning at the heart of this story since the very beginning, patient and dim, and perfectly content to go on burning for as long as you need its light. The 49th of our 100 space facts arrives now. Barely a sound, barely a sensation. Simply a warmth moving through the dark toward you and arriving gently without announcement. The Voyager 1 spacecraft, launched from Earth in September of 1977, is the most distant human-made object in existence, currently traveling through interstellar space more than 23 billion kilometers from the Sun, so far away that the radio signals it sends back to Earth, traveling at the speed of light, take more than 22 hours to arrive. It carries with it a golden record, a disk of gold-plated copper encoded with sounds and images selected to represent the diversity of life and culture on Earth. A greeting from humanity to whatever might someday find it drifting in the dark between the stars. On that record are sounds of wind and rain and ocean waves, greetings in 55 languages, music from dozens of cultures, and the brainwave recording of a young woman thinking about her life and her hopes and the things she loved. Voyager 1 will drift through interstellar space for millions of years without encountering another star system, traveling in a silence so complete that no instrument on Earth will be able to detect it before very long, carrying its golden record through the dark like a message in a bottle cast into an ocean with no shore, patient and unhurried, and entirely without expectation of reply. The 50th fact, the halfway point of our 100 space facts, arrives now, and it arrives with a particular softness in recognition of the milestone, like a bell struck very gently in a very large and very still room. We are halfway through. 50 quiet, wondrous, soothing truths about the universe have drifted through this story and through you, and 50 more remain, each one as gentle and as warm as the last, each one a small and patient gift from the cosmos to the resting mind, and they will continue to arrive through the rest of this night, and through every breath you take between now and morning, steady and unhurried and completely without demand. The 50th fact is this: the universe, for all its violence and its extremes, for all its supernovae and its magnetar flares, and its colliding galaxies, is overwhelmingly, statistically, almost incomprehensibly peaceful. The vast majority of its volume is empty space. The vast majority of its time is quiet. The dramatic events that fill the pages of astronomy textbooks are, in the full context of the cosmos, extraordinarily rare and extraordinarily brief, tiny flickers of intensity in an ocean of stillness so deep and so total that the peaceful dark between the stars is not the exception, but the rule, not the background, but the substance, not the absence of the universe, but its primary and most essential quality. You are made of the same substance. You are, at your most fundamental level, mostly space. The atoms of your body separated by distances vast relative to their own size, held together by forces rather than by contact, more emptiness than matter, more quiet than noise, more rest than activity. And on a night like this one, in a place like this one, with the most ancient and most patient darkness in the galaxy surrounding you in every direction, that emptiness and that quiet and that rest are not things you are trying to achieve, but things you already are, things you have always been, things the universe recognized in you long before you recognized them in yourself, holding you in its enormous and unhurried arms, exactly the way the black hole holds the light of its ancient glow, without grip, without condition, without any intention of letting go, before the long and healing night has run its full and perfect course. You have traveled so far tonight, further than any human being has ever traveled, across the full breadth of the galaxy, and into the warm and ancient embrace of the most patient thing the universe has ever made. And now, in these final slow and fading moments of this long and beautiful deep sleep journey, there is nothing left to do, nothing left to learn, nothing left to find, because everything you came here for you have already received, every quiet fact, every warm and drifting image, every slow and generous sentence that carried you one breath further from the noise of the world, and one breath deeper into the most complete and healing rest your body has known in a very long time. You do not need to hold on to any of it. You do not need to remember a single word or a single fact or a single image from this entire night's journey, because the rest itself is the thing, the deep and wordless and completely sufficient rest that your body and your mind have been drinking in through every moment of this story. And it is yours now, settled into you like starlight settling into the surface of a still and distant ocean, quiet and permanent, and entirely beyond the reach of anything the morning might bring. The universe around you is unchanged. The black hole rests ahead in its eternal and dormant stillness, its accretion disk glowing its faint and amber glow, its event horizon a perfect and absolute circle of darkness at the center of everything. And it will still be here tomorrow night, and the night after that, and a billion years from tonight, patient and complete, and entirely without need of acknowledgement, simply existing in the most profound and the most peaceful way that anything in the cosmos has ever existed. And you are here beside it, in your warm and quiet orbit. You're breathing so slow and so deep now that there are whole galaxies of silence between each exhale and each inhale, whole light years of rest inside each pause, the body doing its most ancient and most sacred work in the dark, while the mind rests in the softest and most complete surrender it has ever offered itself. Let the final facts arrive, now not as information, but as warmth, not as sentences, but as the gentlest possible texture of sound moving through the deep and sleeping air. The universe will continue its expansion through the night, growing larger and quieter and more spacious with every second, carrying every galaxy gently outward into the increasing dark, each one moving away from every other one, not through any force or any intention, but simply because the space between them is growing, the cosmos breathing outward on a scale so vast and so unhurried that a billion years of expansion would not be visible to any instrument we have yet built. And this expansion, this slow, continuous, utterly peaceful growing of everything, is happening right now, in this moment, in the same moment that you are breathing and resting and drifting in the most complete sleep. The universe expanding around you and you resting within it, both of you doing exactly what you were made to do, both of you doing it perfectly and without effort and without end, the stars will go on burning through the night, each one converting hydrogen into helium in its core through the patient alchemy of nuclear fusion, each one radiating its light in every direction simultaneously across the dark, some of that light arriving at planets where no eyes exist to receive it, some of it arriving at planets where eyes are closed in sleep, some of it traveling for billions of years without encountering anything at all, simply moving through the dark, because that is what light does, because that is what light has always done, because the universe made light and then made space for it to travel through. And the two of them have been keeping each other company ever since the very first moments of existence, and they will go on keeping each other company long after this night has ended, and long after the morning has come quietly to carry you back to the world, restored and rested and softened by the long and generous dark. You are safe. You are held. You are exactly where you need to be. The black hole rests. The stars burn their slow and patient fires. The universe expands in its enormous and unhurried way, and you, here in the dark, in the warm and ancient quiet of the deepest sleep, are part of all of it, made from it, held by it, returned to it every night in the most fundamental and most beautiful way, the way a wave returns to the ocean it was always part of, without loss, without effort, without anything being required, except the simple and complete and perfect surrender that you have already beautifully, entirely given. Sleep now. Rest now. Let the story dissolve into silence, the silence into warmth, the warmth into the deep and dreamless dark where the body heals and the mind rests, and the night does its oldest and most generous work. Good night, traveler. The universe will be here when you wake.